Hello, and welcome to episode 25 of the Brain Cancer Podcast. First off, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. And in this episode, it is going to be what I hope to be a monthly type episode where I go over all of the most recent news in the world of brain cancer. In this type of episode, what I did was select a few that I think are really promising or that are very interesting to me and have a lot of potential in future or even current day treatments for any types of brain cancer. I do want to do this as a monthly episode to just recap everything that I've seen. Even though I'm recording this in February, it will have a couple January stories as well, but I'll try and keep it related to the month that I'm covering in future episodes. All right. The first article that we will look at is titled Promising Treatment for Deadly Brain Cancer, published on February 4th. This has to do with a clinical trial drug named selinexor, which is the first of a new class of anti-cancer drugs, which was able to shrink tumors in almost a third of patients with recurrent glioblastoma. Quote, the drug induces a response in certain patients, and several trial patients stayed on selinexor for more than 12 months, including one for over 42 months. The study was published January 10th, 2022 in Clinical Cancer Research. What this drug does, it's an oral medication and it inhibits exportin 1 or XPO1, a major exporter of proteins from the nucleus to cytoplasm that is overexpressed in many cancers, including glioblastoma. Exportin inhibition results in retention of various tumor suppressor proteins in the nucleus, inducing reactivation of tumor suppressor function as well as other anti-neoplastic effects. Selinexor was approved by the FDA for the treatment of refractory multiple myeloma and relapsed/refractory diffuse large B-cell lymphoma and had preclinical activity against glioblastoma models. Reduction in tumor size was observed in 28% of patients, and a tolerable dose was identified for future human trials, already ongoing at Columbia and collaborating sites. The most common treatment-related side effects were about what we would expect, 61% being fatigue, nausea at 59%, decreased appetite 43%, and low platelet counts at 43%. All of these side effects were manageable with supportive care and dose modification. In essence, this drug stops a glioblastoma cell from hiding from the immune system. There is another story that I'm going to be talking about which is similar to this as well. Our second story involves a device which could be seen as an evolution of the Optune device. It is known as GRACE, which is the Glioma Resection Advanced Cavity Electric Field Therapy. Unlike Optune, which uses alternating field currents to disrupt tumor cell division, this is a implanted device that delivers electric field therapy directly to the tumor resection margins, where 90% of GBM recurrence takes place. By delivering through an implant, GRACE will aim to deliver long, better quality lives for GBM patients by providing continuous therapy while minimizing its effects on patient quality of life. This is still something that is years away, which they specify by saying GRACE is an experimental device, not currently approved for human use, and is still several years away from being utilized in the clinic. If you take a look at the link, it shows what appears to be a tiny battery pack with electrodes that go up into it, and I'm not sure if this would be a catheter inside or not, but then it branches off into 3 or 4 different electrodes that would be placed right at your resection cavity to deliver electric field therapy right to your resection site. Something like this would definitely be far more technically challenging, I would think, just because it is an implant device and those electrodes are placed at your resection site. But it's very unclear looking at this photo exactly how it works, and they don't have a whole lot of information on here yet. But they were recently funded for $750,000 into this new treatment. So this is something that we will definitely have to follow up on. This next story is actually really fascinating to me, and I know I've seen a few other people talking about it. It is a magnetic, quote, seed that heats and kills tumors in a new cancer therapy, and it has been successfully demonstrated in mice. University of College London researchers have demonstrated a new kind of cancer therapy that uses a magnetic seed to precisely target and kill brain tumor cells. This seed is known as minima, or the minimally invasive image-guided ablation, and it starts with implanting a 2 millimeter wide sphere of metal alloy into the brain. Because this seed is magnetic, a tailored MRI scanner can be used to slowly guide it through the brain. Once the seed reaches the site of a tumor, it can be remotely heated to gradually kill off nearby cancer cells, hopefully destroying the tumor. Using an MRI scanner to deliver a therapy in this way allows the therapeutic seed and the tumor to be imaged throughout the procedure, ensuring the treatment is delivered with precision and without having to perform open surgery, lead author Rebecca Baker said. Quote, "This could be beneficial to patients by reducing recovery times and minimizing the chance of side effects." This is another type of therapy which is still years away, but if we look at how far we've come in the past 20 years, we're seeing treatment options and future ideas that we couldn't have even imagined 20 years ago, when all we had was surgery, radiation, and now we have surgery, radiation, and temozolomide. In addition to having all of these options, it's going to lead directly to longer, better lives for all brain cancer patients. And I hope to see some of these come to trial and be very successful for everybody in the future. Looking over at the Yale School of Medicine, we have an article titled "Decision Switch Discovered in Mutations Linked to Common Brain Tumor." This common brain tumor is a glioblastoma, which, as we all know, is a very mutated and heterogeneous cancer, which makes it very, very difficult to nail down any one treatment. This study looks at the EGFR mutation, which they do test for, as far as I know, in most pathology panels. The EGFR is the epidermal growth factor receptor, and it is frequently mutated in cancers and is an important and successful therapeutic target, especially in lung cancer. Yet, despite EGFR mutations occurring in approximately 24% of GBM cases, treatment with EGFR inhibitors has not been successful in this cancer. The research team showed that the most common extracellular mutations that occur in GBM prevent EGFR from discriminating between the 7 different growth factors that normally activate it. They describe how it is activated. EGFR becomes activated when binding to a growth factor that causes 2 receptors to come together into a dimer. Different growth factors normally stabilize EGFR dimers with distinct structures and activation kinetics, which signal differently to specify or bias cellular outcome. Some stop cell growth, while others, including a protein known as epidermal growth factor, or EGF, promote it. The team at the Yale Cancer Biology Institute found that mutated EGFRs seen in GBM react to all 7 of the receptor's different ligands as if they are EGF, which induces the type of dimers that signal to promote cell proliferation. So instead of discriminating between stopping cell growth, these all go to promoting cell growth. This leads to hopefully inform new treatments into how the EGFR receptor differentiates one activating growth factor from another, and with these mutations, that ability to distinguish is lost. Therefore, if they can find a new therapeutic targeting the specific EGFR mutations, they can combine that along with other different therapies to stop the GBM cells from just proliferating and spreading throughout the brain. In very recent news, we have Overlook Medical Center enrolling patients for a new brain tumor vaccine. We had spoken about potential brain tumor vaccines in the episode that I had done on immunotherapy and the potential for other vaccines using the polio virus or the Zika virus. And I'm really glad to see some new vaccine trials coming to hospitals around the country and around the world. The Survive Phase 2B trial will allow doctors at Overlook to treat patients with newly diagnosed glioblastomas with Survax-M, a first-of-its-kind vaccine that targets survivin, a cell survival protein found in 95% of glioblastomas and many other cancers. Quote, I think it represents the possibility of a true advance for this uniformly fatal disorder. The prospect of surviving for more years while maintaining more function would be an incredible gift for patients. Survax is engineered to recognize survivin-expressing cancer cells as foreign and to stimulate patients' own immune response to control tumor growth and recurrence, much like any other vaccine would. This vaccine is given to patients once they complete the typical post-surgical treatment of radiation and chemotherapy. The vaccine is given every 2 weeks over a 6-week period, and then every 2 months over a 24-month period from the first injection. While vaccines are typically thought of as ways to prevent diseases, some vaccines can also be used in a therapeutic way as an immunostimulant. Survax is delivered through simple subcutaneous injection. I think this is a fascinating therapy. The ability to create a vaccine that would target cancer cells and then stimulate your own immune response to be able to respond to any future recurrences is something that is just game-changing. Not just brain cancer, but cancer in general. There's no reason that this can't just be applied to lung cancer, kidney cancer, or any other kind of cancer. I will definitely be following this trial as well. And if I see any changes or if you've taken part in one of these, please let me know. And if you want to come on and discuss how it's been for you, please just let me know. Our final article of the day looks at chemoresistance and how glioblastomas in particular can become chemoresistant. Oftentimes we take our chemo, and for far too many people, once the tumor comes back, it is more resistant to temozolomide than ever before, and doctors have not been sure why. This team found that a triple-pronged approach inhibiting 2 specific proteins when combined with temozolomide produced an effective triple combinational therapy that overcame chemoresistance. The findings could significantly delay tumor recurrence resulting from chemoresistance and prolong survival in glioblastoma patients. The study is focused around the MGMT, which will repair or not repair the DNA strands in glioblastoma cells. Quote, this may be the kill switch for glioblastoma that we've been searching for. A potential way to prolong cancer survival time with strong translational potential. In this study, they essentially found out which specific molecules or proteins are responsible for building up that chemoresistance, and they found basically the answer for it. According to the article, they applied two molecules that blocked downstream chemical reactions, curbing the production of a protein that the cancer cells need to metabolize food, move, proliferate, and survive. If we're able to be successful in translating this discovery, we'll have a chance to overcome drug resistance in glioblastomas expressing high levels of this particular protein, which account for 25% of all cases. And that about wraps up this episode. I just wanted to record an episode all about some of the most recent news and discoveries that have come out and things that could be relevant to patients 5, 10, or even 20 years from now. Just like the studies that were going on 5, 10, 20 years ago, which are affecting us today, it's difficult to imagine how far we may be in cancer treatment in 15 or 20 years. I have never sat here and specifically gone over articles, so this first episode might sound a little rough, but I'm going to work on it and try and improve. I feel much more at home just talking as opposed to reading. It was good to kind of get out of my usual comfort zone and just explore something else. I do hope to do this every month, with my goal being 2 episodes per month. That about does it for this episode, actually. Thank you all so much for tuning in and for taking the time out of your day to listen to this. I really appreciate it so much. And thank you all so much for all of your kind emails and how supportive you've been towards me. If you would like to follow the page on Facebook at facebook.com/braincancerpodcast, give that a follow. I post on there every day. I'll be posting some photos of the snow since it's still snowing outside. You can also follow on Twitter at twitter.com/braincancerpod. Feel free to email me at any time at braincancerpodcast@gmail.com. I will always get back to anybody that emails me, and I've met some amazing people. That is a big part of my life. I just appreciate all of you. Be sure to subscribe or follow the show on whatever podcast app you're listening to. That makes a big difference, and you'll get notified when the new episodes are up. Also, if you would like to come on the show, just let me know. I'm always looking for new people to come on. I have a couple scheduled for hopefully during the summer as well. But you're all invited on because this is a show for us, not just for me. Even though it's been a couple of years now, I'm still learning how to do this. We are always learning, just like with cancer research, it's always evolving. With that, that's about it for this episode. I hope you all have a good day or night, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.